Hello, everyone. We're back with Ken Dombrowski, Executive Life Coach and Master Hypnotist. And today I want to talk about the overuse of the term narcissism. I believe it's overused. What do you think about that?
Oh, yeah, you can definitely rely on that coming up in a party. Narcissism is so overused. You're absolutely right. Anyone that displays any kind of an unsavory, undesirable, or, off-putting behavior is automatically labeled a narcissist. Someone who just simply, they just really like to eat dinner at 8 o'clock at night. Well, they're a narcissist. They have to have everything their way. They're controlling. Well, no, they might just like to eat dinner at 8 o'clock. Maybe that's how they grew up, and that's just what they're used to. So to constantly be throwing that out there is so destructive. So I guess one way of looking at it, like the old way, is that if everyone's a narcissist, then that means actually no one's a narcissist. Right. But we want to look at, really when it comes to narcissism, it's the intention behind the actions. So you have, and certainly I'm nobody's psychotherapist, no way, no how. I'm a life coach and master hypnotist, so I deal with behavior all the time. So I have to kind of study up on it a little bit, kind of be familiar with what I'm working with. Because certainly I don't want to make anyone worse, obviously. But there are other terms. There's like, histrionic is another psychological mental term. It's been around for 100 years, and it's very similar to narcissism. But it's going to have more of a self-pity about it, where a narcissist is really more about self-loathing. Those are going to be the core values there. But they're going to have it very much like, 90-95% of the same traits. They look and present similar. They're going to say the similar things and behave in similar ways, only the driver for each behavior is different. But you don't ever hear anybody saying, oh, well, he's just histrionic. Right. She's histrionic. Oh, no, narcissism. It's just a little bit more catchphrasey, a little more sexy to use. So we want to look at, okay, what does that even mean when you have these certain character traits? There's a school of thought on how it works is if you're born with it, then you have something called NPD, Narcissistic Personality Disorder. So that means you were born with this disorder and you're going to have it forever. There's no cure for it whatsoever. And to me, if I were guessing, and of course my opinion means nothing here, it's just my own opinion, is that I'm going to say 90% of all people who are accused of being narcissists might actually not have narcissism, not actually have NPD. 90% of those people are just going to have narcissistic traits, which is something you develop over time through your environment. So, you have narcissistic traits, narcissistic behaviors that are they are narcissistic, but it's a different purpose behind it. That person learned it through environment to defend themselves, to kind of shield themselves against, the difficulties of the world. So their brain thought, okay, I have to be in control of everything or else I'm going to be vulnerable. So you have these two different ways of looking at it. And, what would you think? Would it sound as interesting to go around calling people histrionic?
No, and I think it just goes to show the over-obsession with certain terms. Like, people don't say you're in an unhealthy relationship or start categorizing it. It's always just, that's toxic. So I feel like it just goes into, like you said, kind of whatever's considered like the sexy thing to say at that time. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily that it's true. It's just easy to blanket something into a category.
Exactly. And I like your use of the term toxic. If two people don't get along, it does not mean it's toxic. Right. You have to kind of really be overbearing about something in a negative way that's destructive to other people on a consistent, ongoing basis before you can start to label it as toxic. Mm-hmm. But just because you didn't get along or you don't like what someone said does not mean it's toxic.
Or make them a narcissist.
Or make them a narcissist, exactly. So, yeah, there's definitely a huge problem there, but it's just so easy. It's just too easy to do. We get stuck in this habit as a society and we go with it. And actually, I know we're on the topic of narcissism, but there's another, like antisocial. Mm-hmm. Antisocial, everybody uses this as the person who doesn't, participate. They're sitting off in the corner and not talking. Yes, that seems like they're anti-social. They're not being social. And that's more of a definition that we came up as a society.
Yeah.
However, antisocial is a cluster of behavior of mental disorder. Antisocial is someone who is against social norms, such as, you shouldn't murder people. So a murderer would be considered antisocial,
right?
Not the person just sitting in the corner not talking to anybody. So we use these and we kind of just grab onto them because it sounds like we know something. But the thing is, the human mind is so unbelievably complex with layer upon layer that we barely have an understanding for. So to kind of narrow it down or relegate it down to one or two terms, it just really is unfair. It's unfair to the people who are being labeled as that.
Right. Well, and I hate to say it, but I feel like because narcissism was originally a term used for men, women who believe they're in a toxic relationship or have a friend in a toxic relationship, every single man I've ever seen that ended in a bad relationship was labeled a narcissist by the woman. And so that's kind of where I believe the overuse comes in, because people can just not be right for each other. People can just not give and receive love the way that they need to give and receive love, and it so quickly becomes this person's a narcissist. And it, like you said, if everyone's one, then nobody's one. So it is that like just overuse, and along the lines of how we were talking about antisocial being used wrong and things like that. We have that conversation all the time about introvert versus extrovert, completely used wrong in societal norms and conversation. And you've told me all of this once I started working for you. I had no clue that all of these words were being used so inaccurately, because that's the only way you hear them used. So it is definitely an interesting conversation, and how quickly things just kind of catch on and then stay there.
Yeah. It's just easy, but easy is never right. What the old saying is that the hard thing and the right thing in life are usually the same thing. The easy thing and the wrong thing in life, those are also going to be the same.
Right.
So if it's easy, chances are it's wrong.
That's true. I feel like everyone knows that. That's why comfort zones are what you got to leave to make anything happen.
Exactly. Good point.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that conversation, Ken.
My pleasure.
Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.